Okay, so I'm hopeful that this isn't going to shake around too much for you, Toby. But here I'm walking down a path because I've got to do some clearing here. But you can see Frida's ahead of me and she's already starting to pull on the leash. And when you correct this, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is, one, see how she's pulling? This leash is tight now and I actually have to take a firm hold of it. So when she's pulling like this, people will stop walking and they'll pull her back like this. And see, I have to muscle her the whole way back. Sit. Good girl. So I'm going to walk again. And when you're walking, it's important that the dog is at heel position. See how, stay. Her foot is lined up with my foot. If I'm walking, I want her, let's see if I can change that there. I want her to be lined up like this. And that means every single time that I'm outside and this dog is on a leash and I'm going for a walk, if we're stationary and we're sitting, she's sitting at heel position. If we're walking, she's going at heel position. So the second that she creeps 2 inches ahead of my foot, that's when I'm going to correct her. And there's 2 different ways that you guys can do this. Well, there's more than 2 ways, but the 2 ways that I'm going to tell you guys how to do this because of your physical limitations. Good girl. Okay. So I'm using the choke chain because that's what you're going to be using. But I will tell you right now, this is one of the worst collars you can put on your dog. It needs to be up here by her ears, and there's no way for you to be able to keep that like that unless you're holding it in position. And also, it's just a bad collar. Okay, so see, she's gotten ahead of me already, and I'm going to pop her with the leash. I'm not going to pull on her, so the leash is going to go tight for a second. It's going to make a snapping sound, and then I'm going to release it again, like this. See how she paid attention to that? There was far less force used to do that than there was for me to pull her back into heel position. Okay, so the next time she gets out in front of me, I'm just going to turn around and go the other way. And this is the best way that you can correct a dog for going ahead. Okay, so all I did was I turned around and went the other direction. And I kept my hand at my side, and as soon as I felt the slack come out of the leash, I gave a quick pop on the leash, and she realized that she got ahead of me and lost track of where I was, and suddenly I was going the other way. So that's really the best method to get her to heel. As you can see, she's completely loose leash now, and she's walking at heel. And there's something distracting up here, so I'm going to turn around, go the other way. And she ended up hitting the end of the leash again. But now, did you see, hopefully the camera picked that up, she just looked at me, and it was too quick for me to praise her. But you'll start to see as I'm walking along here, hopefully the camera's not too shaky. It's as secure as I can make it and have it point down at this weird angle. You'll start to see that as we're walking along, even though it's very distracting because we're out in the woods and there's all these great smells. See, did you see that? She looked at my leg. She turned around and looked at me to make sure that I was still in her vision. She hadn't lost track of me, and now she's dropped back on her own. So, the mistake that people make, which you saw in the beginning of the video, is you let the dog go out in front, and there's no consequence. So then they hit the end of the leash. And they can keep track of where you are because of the tension on the leash, but then she's pulling your arm out of your socket, and it makes for a very unpleasant walk. So whenever you walk, She's got to be at heel position. Okay, and then I'm going to come to a stop. And I'm not just going to stop dead. I will stop dead, and I'll show you what happens. She got out in front of me. Because I didn't give her any warning. And now look, she came back on her own. She did that all on her own. So I didn't give her any warning that I was stopping. So she ended up way out in front of me. And I wouldn't correct that because that was my fault, not hers. So now I'm going to come to a stop again. And I will add that as soon as I stopped, I don't know if the camera picked up the sound, there was a grouse off to my right, or left, off to my left, the other right, and it triggered her prey drive. But she came back to me on her own. So prey drive is not really a problem with her. It's really not that high. It's higher than your average dog, but I would say it's fairly normal. It's certainly nowhere near as high as Armand, who's a working Doberman. So I'm going to come to a stop again, and I'm taking little steps. And look, she looked at me, and then she stopped on her own, and she sat on her own, because we've already worked on that. I'm not sure how long this is going to last, because the fly spray that I put on her doesn't seem to be working very well. Okay, so I'm walking along at heel position. I'm going to stop again. See her look at me? Good girl! And she sat on her own. So as I come to a stop, I'm going to cut my steps in half. So I'm taking little baby steps, and it changes the cadence of my walk. And because she's at heel position, she sees me in her peripheral vision, and she knows that there's a change. So she's looking to me to see what we're doing next. Okay, so I'll stop again. Good girl. See that eye contact? And she sat on her own. If she doesn't sit, then you say sit, give her 3 seconds, and then put her in sit position. And every time I go forward, I step forward with my left foot, but that can be confusing or hard for people to remember. So when you go forward, you're going to say the dog's name and heel. So as we come to a stop, I say nothing because she should be sitting on her own. Good girl. Now as I go forward to heel, I'm going to say, Frida, heel. Good girl. You see how she's looking? She's always looking. And that's why I say that she could be a service dog. It's just the mind that she's got. She's very engaged with you. You don't get that eye contact with a lot of dogs until you teach them that's what you want. She just does it on her own. Good girl. See, she's watching me. I've only corrected her 3 times since we've been out here. And they haven't been heavy-duty corrections. Just, my dad did this trick with his belt, and I know a lot of other dads have done it, where you double over the belt and you sort of scrunch it up, and then in order to you can make a snapping sound with it, and in order to do that, you have to tug both ends really quick and then immediately release all pressure. And that's pretty much how your leash corrections should be. So now she's gotten ahead of me. I turn and go the other way. Good girl. That's it, good girl. So every time that she looks at you and you have the opportunity to catch it, give her lots of praise. And it doesn't have to be petting, doesn't have to be a treat, just good girl, and then on your way. So I'm going to stop the video now because this is what I came out here for. This is my training trail, and it is now blocked. I can't get under there. mosquitoes. So I'm gonna let Frida loose. There you go. And work on this. Okay, it's really buggy out here, so I did what I came to do. And so when you're getting ready to go, to put the leash on Frida, just like anything else, she has to sit first. So Frida, good girl, come here. Sit. Good girl. Yeah, I know those bugs. She got up, so she gets a leash correction. And it's the same as the correction for going out in front of me. Just a quick snap. Don't pull. Don't hit the end of the leash and then, you know, like this. Don't do this. It's just a quick pop, pop, pop. Okay? Okay. Frida, heel. See if I can fix the camera. There. Okay. So now she's staying really nicely at heel position. See, she's looking at me. I lifted my hand to fix my hat, and she saw the movement, so she looked to see what I was doing. I'm gonna stop here. I know, that's a big one. Good girl. Okay, so she sat on her own. Well, she didn't sit on her own. I gave her a couple little, I'll call them jiggles on the leash. She was distracted because one of those huge horseflies is messing around with us, and they're pretty much the size of bumblebees. Going after her. So I don't blame her for being distracted. Summertime up here is not good. Really, the only times that the snow isn't on the ground that are bug-free is maybe August and September, early October, and then 2 weeks in April. So, not a lot that I can do about that. Okay, so I'm going to come to a stop again, take a couple little steps. Good girl. Heel. Do it again. Good girl. She almost got a correction there because she didn't sit. Because we're at the point in healing where sit should be automatic. When I started this off, every time I stopped, I told her to sit. So you might have to do that as well. Hey, Frida, heel. Good girl. So this whole time, the leash has been loose. I could probably do this off leash, but the problem with that is right now I don't have, she's still really inexperienced, and I don't have any way to correct her if she were to go ahead. But so yeah, it's like the training wheels on a bike. I'll stop again. Slow steps. Good girl. Are you a good girl, Frida? Frida. Good girl. So I try to do things to encourage her to watch me. Frida. Good girl. So I might only get eye contact for a second. And actually I didn't get eye contact. She just sort of tilted her head up. So, but I can't blame her because The deer flies are just crazy. It's deer fly breeding season, and yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn around and I'll see if she hits the end of the leash. Probably won't because she's watching me. See? Well, she came out of camera view, but you probably didn't hear any sort of chinking sound from the collar getting tight. Move you over there. Now you can heel properly. Okay, so then take a couple small steps. That's the correction I want to see for not sitting. And it's just a quick pop upwards on the leash. I'll stop again. Good girl! That's a good girl! Okay. I keep forgetting to say your name and heel, but going forward with my left foot is my signal, and it's so second nature I don't even think about it anymore. And the reason for going forward with your left foot, it's a command, but it doesn't use verbal language. So, see what I can do here. Hey! That was a correction for going after a toad. Okay, so if I want to heel, I go forward with my left foot. I know, they're all on your face. Okay, and if I want to do a stay, that was me dropping my pruning saw. So if I want to do a stay, because she's not experienced too much in this, I'll give her, Frida, stay. That's my stay command. Open palm in front of her, and then I'll step away with my right foot, and that's also a command to stay. So when I want her to be stationary, I step away with my right, and when I want her to heel, I step away with my left. So I'll come back. Yeah, we gotta get inside. These bugs are crazy. Free to heel, and then I go forward with the left for going for healing. And if you get into the habit of doing that, then when you see a friend on the street and you want to stop and talk, the dog will naturally stop on their own. And say you want to put them in a stay, but you're having a conversation with your friend and your mouth is busy doing something else, so like talking. So, but you still want to give her a stay command, then you just step away with your right foot. That's your stay command. Man, it's just crazy back here. And it doesn't matter what time of day I come out. Deer flies will be like this anyway. Except if I were to come out at night with a headlamp, then it would be 100 times worse. Sorry, bud. Didn't mean for that to happen. the road. And we're going to stop. Good girl. Okay, free to heel. Good girl. See how she's watching me? Now she's got in the head, so I'm just going to do a quick pop back. And now she's in heel position again. However, that is the less effective of the two methods. It's much better for you to turn around and go in the other direction. Okay, so we're at the door. Free to sit. Good girl. And that's that. So remember, always sit to go through doors. You go through the door first. Then she follows, and there's no pushing or bumping or anything. If she does, she gets yelled at quite vigorously. But no hitting. Okay, so that's that.